Hello, you guys. Welcome to episode 68 of the Messy Success Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Henson, and I'm so excited about this episode. If you are a photographer, you're going to love this. I'm actually going to be sharing a lot of the behind the scenes of my photography business, where it has been, where it's going, some exciting new developments, and yeah, I'm just going to brainstorm with you guys. It's going to be great. I'm so glad you're here. All right, here goes nothing. I know I mentioned last episode that I jump on here with zero script and it's been very messy behind the scenes, but I'm loving it. I'm getting good feedback from you guys. And speaking of the last episode, I took a little hiatus because May is my birthday, May 4th. My husband got me a 3-day getaway in the Outer Banks by myself. I did get to see some of my friends while I was down there. I had a spa day. It was amazing. I had to get over that initial, like, wait, you're not going with me? But it was very intentional and he was very sweet to do that. I am an extrovert. I get cabin fever pretty easily. I really like to get out and do things. And that's just been hard this past year, right? And then you have Mother's Day and then our wedding anniversary all piled into 2 weeks. And, Mark and I did get away for our anniversary just for a night. Mother's Day, I, of course, just like soaked up as much family time as I could. And I had my first wedding back on Saturday, first wedding of the year of 2021, which is a lot of the stuff I'm going to dive into today because I'm just feeling really inspired to share with you guys. But that's where I've been. And, I used to have a lot of like fear, guilt, feelings, meaning I was putting on things when it comes to the podcast and how and when I show up. And I finally started to realize how silly that was and that it's better to show up imperfectly, to show up a little bit inconsistently than not to show up at all, right? And the reason I keep sharing that over and over with you guys is not to justify it for myself, but to remind you that showing up for something that you're passionate about, for something that you believe in, for something that feels good, that helps people, it doesn't have to look or feel a certain way, right? Like society, social media, puts so much pressure out there on how we should be doing things. And should is kind of a dirty word. Like we shouldn't should on ourselves, right? Like we really should stay away from some of that pressure language. And it can be more like, I can record a podcast episode today. I get to record a podcast episode today. I'm so excited to share with you guys all the things behind the scenes. And it is no big deal that I missed 2 weeks, right? Like it is no big deal. We're moving on. I didn't attach meaning to it like I would have in the past. I didn't feel guilty. I just went about my life and my day and I continued to do my best and put one foot in front of the other. And I just want to be that person that encourages you guys to do the same, right? Like being brave and showing up matters. And it's important to show up even when things don't feel easy or simple or, it doesn't feel like we're doing it correctly. Like correctly compared to what, right? Like showing up at all, in my eyes, is doing it correctly because you're showing up and you're taking action and you're learning. And that's exactly how everything I'm going to share with you guys today has kind of unfolded and developed. And like just out of nowhere, I kind of developed a little bit of a sniffles. So just hang in there, you guys. We're going to get through this. It's going to be great. Let's dive right in. So my photography business was the stepping stone, the catapult into my journey of being an entrepreneur. And my photography business began in 2013. I picked up my camera in 2012 after many years of, not doing photography. I loved it as a teenager. I loved it in college. I was always the girl with the camera at the parties, in the club. I mean, I always had a camera in my hand, but I really didn't do anything with it. until 2012, when my mom gifted me her DSLR camera at my bridal shower. I'm pretty sure I've shared this story a couple different places, but it was a big deal. I sobbed like out of nowhere. I'm not a big crier, but I had no idea what my mom was going to give me. I really wasn't even thinking about a gift from my mother. I was just happy to have her at my bridal shower. And for some reason, I unboxed this camera and burst into tears in front of everyone. Like, here I was thinking it was going to be like a special dish or maybe a family heirloom, or no idea what it was going to be. Money. And it was her camera, her DSLR camera. And I burst into tears and I had no reason for it. I'm almost going to cry here sitting thinking about it. But it was this overwhelming, like, I knew I was going to do something with it. I knew I was going to do something meaningful with that camera. I just didn't know what. I had no idea, but it was just overwhelming, and I can relive that moment over and over and over. Gosh, I hope one day that I can provide that for my own children, because it will be a memory of a lifetime. So I opened the doors of my business in 2013. I shot 3 weddings that year, and 2.5 years later, so I guess it would have been 2015, I quit teaching and went full-time photography, which is insane. It was a pretty big leap of faith for my husband and I. We were pretty freshly married. I had already had Gracie. So Gracie was also born at the end of 2013. And we knew this was a pretty big, leap of faith. But I did it. I, watched my numbers. I knew that it was doable. And I never looked back. And, in the realm of photography, like, not to like pat myself on the back, but I never really struggled. I never struggled finding clients. I never struggled generating revenue. It always was very easy and very natural for me. And not all aspects of my business have been that way. You guys have been here for, my journey into coaching and to finding other revenue streams. Now that has been much more of a struggle, right? Like, it isn't all rainbows and butterflies, but the photography side of things just came so naturally. And I really think that's my heart for customer service. I really think it has very little to do with my skill. Am I a good photographer? Yes. Like, do I have some images in my portfolio that are pretty epic? Yes. But again, I don't think that it was my skill that was bringing the business in. It was hands down my customer service, my personality. I'm very easygoing, but like have my stuff together at the same time, right? Like, I'm extremely reliable and punctual and honestly like everything that somebody would want in a vendor on their wedding day. And I think that's what really catapulted my business was word of mouth, which you guys know word of mouth referrals is my jam, all of that. So eventually, I realized that it wasn't going to be extremely scalable. I was always going to be trading my time for money. I was feeling really comfortable with my prices, so I didn't really want to explore raising my prices at this time. I just wanted to start building out my photography education and my other revenue streams. So then things got a little bit harder, but I was very determined. This probably all started in like 2016 and 17 were my busiest years. And then I think in 2018, I started dabbling with my associate program, and 2019, I really started tapering down. So now I'm really only shooting about 3 to 5 weddings a year, and then, COVID, all the things. But it's been more difficult trying to build out the other revenue streams. Now we're doing great now. Everything's, awesome. I'm sure, emotional ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, but I've been thinking a lot about where I want my photography business to go. And for a while I was like, I just don't want to do this on the weekends anymore. I don't want to be away from my family. I almost had to miss Gracie's dance recital. The first year she was doing dance for a wedding. Thank goodness it ended up being on a Sunday and not a Saturday. But I just realized like, I don't want to be relying on this revenue stream when I'm in my 40s. And And I just really started leaning into these other revenue streams. And that's been great. But there's still part of me that knows like photography isn't done for me. And this all happened very recently when I got an inquiry from, bride to be. And I very kindly, and this was one of my students at Ocean Lake. So of course this was like extremely emotional for me. I was like so excited for her. And I very politely told her that I wasn't ready to make any commitments for 2022, that I would send her some amazing referrals, but I just wasn't ready to say yes. And I didn't want her to wait on me to make that decision. And she came back with like, I have been wanting you to be my photographer for years. I will change my date. What will it take to have you there? Like, this is heartbreaking for me. And in that moment, I had to really sit back and evaluate, am I feeling called to do this just because she wants me so bad and I'm a people pleaser? Is there still something there for me here? And I started asking myself better questions, which you guys know I am such an advocate for asking ourselves better questions when things get tough, right? Like, instead of making excuses, instead of making assumptions or telling ourselves stories, let's ask ourselves better questions, because there's so much freedom and power and clarity in getting really clear on what it is that we want. And I've used this in so many different areas of my business. Like, how can I show up and have it feel light and easy and allow me to be in my zone of genius? I've talked about that a lot on here. It's a core value of the way that I move forward in my business and in the world. So I asked myself, what would make it feel not only light and easy, but exciting for me to continue pursuing weddings? And I was like, okay, I know I need to take some of the pressure off. Like, it's really, really hard work and it's very demanding. And there is, expectations. This is somebody's wedding day. You don't get any do-overs. So I started thinking about the parts of the days that were stressful and how I didn't like that feeling of being two places at once, knowing I needed to photograph the details more thoroughly. And then I also needed to be with the bride. My heart loves being with the bride. Like, if I could just be glued to the bride or the bride and groom the entire day, like, that's what I would want to do. I just love that, the customer service piece, knowing that whatever she needs, I'm right there. That is what, makes me feel at ease on a wedding day, is just to be near the bride at all times. Not every photographer is like that, but that's very important to me. So I started really making a vision for what could my photography business be, where it can continue to grow and elevate, provide a better experience for the couples. How can I make this less stressful, light and easy for me, allow me to be in my best version of creativity, while also providing the best possible experience for these couples? And I'm still not there yet, you guys. Like, I still don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but we're mapping it out. We're dreaming big. We're dreaming of, a boutique experience that nobody else in Hampton Roads is doing. And it's really exciting. It has me excited all over again. And the most important thing is that this, as I said, is going to provide better service, better experience for the couples, and allow me to sit in that creativity. Like, at some point I started enjoying almost being a second shooter more than the lead shooter in some ways. So like when the videographer takes over for a few minutes and I get to just step back and really get some creative shots. Or, when I let my second shooter take the charge in some aspect, and I get to stand back and just really be creative for a minute. Like, to shut my mouth, for lack of a better word, and just shoot felt so great. And then also other moments where I was using my voice and directing and posing, like, again, I know my strengths, and really entertaining and getting movement in my pictures, getting authenticity and really goofing off with the wedding party, and getting those imperfect shots, like, that is a major superpower of mine. Like, I tell my couples all the time, if you want perfectly posed, tallest to shortest, jackets perfect, everybody's placement perfect, I am not your girl. But if you want to have fun with your wedding party and you want me to capture them as they are and get you to your party as soon as possible, then I'm your girl. Like, I've been doing this long enough now that I really know where my strengths are. And I just started to envision, what would a wedding day look like where, if I don't have to do everything all at once and be everybody, what roles could I be in that would allow me to do all of these things that I really love, that I know are my superpowers, and serve my couples, and then bring in my team to do some of the other things, right? Or to be able to lean on them to do one while I do the other. I know you're probably thinking like, oh, photographers already do this. They already have second shooters. There's like 3 photographers at my wedding. Yes, photographers are doing this, but not in the way that I'm envisioning. Like, I can see it so clearly in my head, and I'm really excited about it. And, you know, I have zero fear of like pricing. I used to have this really like for sure thought story that Hampton Roads, you could only get up to a certain price point. But I'm realizing, because of these word of mouth referrals and these brides that know me, love me, and trust me, right? This is not a budget issue for them. This is their wedding day, right? And how can I continue to show up for them and continue to serve them so that it feels good for me, and so that I'm showing up as that best possible version of myself on their most important day? And that gets me really fired up, you guys. So, of course, I'm super pumped to bring you on this journey to continue to dream this as big as I possibly can, to start getting it out on paper. We're working on some marketing ideas for how this is going to all go down. Oh, and most importantly, one of the big reasons I wanted to bring this up publicly, because after shooting that wedding on Saturday, I started bringing back my old EHP Dream Team Instagram account. So when I was using my associates, which was great, I think I've talked about that a little here too. I experimented and dabbled in having an associate team of photographers, which was great because it really allowed us to serve some amazing bride and grooms in Hampton Roads who were at a little bit of a lower price point. And I might bring some of that back, but we're not there yet. But I had an Instagram account just for the associate portfolio, and we never got very far with it, but I had it. And I'm really, really passionate about the community building and the business coaching and the work that I'm doing on my personal account right now. Like, I'm really in the thick of it. I'm really passionate about it. And I didn't want to do, or I don't want to do in the future, you know, my photography portfolio a disservice by not being able to showcase it in the way that it really deserves to be showcased. Because over the years, like, I think all the time about how many beautiful images like aren't even shared because, you know, we share a couple sneak peeks and then we have to move on to the next wedding. Share a couple sneak peeks, move on to the next wedding. And there's so many images like in the archives of Elizabeth Henson photos that are beautiful that have yet to be shared. And I know moving forward, if I'm really going to continue to grow this photography business in the direction that I'm envisioning, you know, I need a place to kind of have that portfolio. And that doesn't mean that I'm really going to be showing up a ton on both Instagram accounts. Gosh, y'all know that is my nemesis, to try to have 2 Instagram accounts. Like, that is not my jam. But as I create this vision and build this out and really lean on my team, I really do want just a place that we can really focus on the photography things and really build up the photography education again. I'm really passionate about helping other photographers get started. Not like teaching them how to use a camera, but the business, seeing the possibility. Nothing lights me up more than seeing, you know, a new photographer realize that they can actually make a living doing this. Oh, that just lights me up just thinking about it. That moment when they realize like, I can actually do this as a job. Like that's so magical. And I always want to include those people in my circle, in my network, and to really be able to provide that education for photographers in a different way, because I know that I do that in a very unique way. So yeah, this Elizabeth Henson Photos Incorporated kind of boutique, bringing up the photography education, really bringing in this amazing experience for 2022 and beyond bride and grooms. It's very exciting. And another thing that really came up for me as I was thinking about all of this is, I don't really want to be a solopreneur anymore. I really want to spend as much time as possible, in my zone of genius, in my superpowers, because I know that's how I help people, right? That's really how I help people the best way possible. And also, we don't think about this, right? It's kind of morbid and, we don't like to think about these things. But if something were to happen to me and I'm a solopreneur, my business would just go away. There would be nothing to leave to my children. There would be no way to pass on the business, to my daughters. And I don't want to push that upon them, but if something happens to me and I'm still the CEO of Elizabeth Henson Photos Incorporated, I want them to at least have the opportunity to take over the business, to sell the business. I want the business to somehow be able to be bigger than me. Oh, thank you. My dryer just buzzed. I want this business to be bigger than me, right? So that it can function without me. And that won't happen anytime soon. We're talking like 10-year, 20-year vision, so that it can fully function without me. And it can serve a purpose if I'm no longer there, whether it's selling it, whether it's passing it on to my children. But I know that I want it to be bigger than me. I want my photography business to be a company, not a studio, not picture people, not in a strip mall. But I know that I want it to be bigger. And that doesn't mean busier, right? Like for myself, I really don't see myself shooting more than 5 weddings a year, especially not when my children are little. Gracie and I had to miss our first field hockey game last Saturday, but it's okay. It's okay. I really, really, really want to be available for my children on the weekends. So not anytime soon, but there's so many different directions that we can take this. And, the Instagram account, it's going to be very slowly pivoting into something new, something different, something bigger than me. And same with the photography business in general. So I don't have here's exactly what it's going to be. But I wanted to share this with you guys because I wanted to challenge you to think in this way of asking yourself those questions of, if something happened to me, what would be left of my business for my family, right? What would they be able to do with it, if anything? Do you have a plan in place? If something happened to you, like I have plan A, B, and C, and there's people in my team who have access to everything they would need to make sure that my brides and grooms are covered if there was an emergency. These are important conversations to have. Does someone have your passwords to your CRM so that they can access those client portfolios? These are all very important, grown-up things that you need to be thinking about. But what do you want the legacy of your business to be, right? I don't want to be just one person, with a camera. I really want it to be bigger, and not bigger like size, volume, revenue, but impact, a bigger impact on the world, helping more photographers, really creating an impeccable experience for my couples that they remember for the rest of their lives. And this is really important in any service-based industry, but photography, they're going to be viewing their pictures through the lens of their experience. Any business where you're providing kind of a product and a service, they're going to get that product, but they're viewing it through the lens of their experience. So if you have poor customer service, if you have great customer service, that's a lens, a filter in how they see the finished product. And I can't say that enough. But to be continued on what all this is going to look like, what it's going to feel like, how it's going to evolve. This is going to be slow. I'm very intentional about the amount of time that I spend working. I'm really in a space where I'm spending as much time as possible in my zone of genius. I'm really trying to grow my team into something beautiful and amazing. And I'm just allowing that process to take time and really be in the moment and soak up exactly where I am and take my time and get clear on my visions and continue asking myself these better questions of how can it feel better for me and be the best it can be for my customers and my clients. And I'm going to continue pursuing that tirelessly, even though I just said I don't work that hard. But you know what I mean. You get my point. I'm not in a rush. This isn't something that's going to unfold in the next week or even the next month. But over the course of the next 6 months, right, to a year, this is going to really come together. And I'm really excited about it. And it feels so good to share it with you guys. So when you see that second Instagram account that is now ehp.inc popping up and you're like, what the heck is this? What is going on here? I thought Elizabeth was so anti multiple Instagram accounts, which I am, but I will still be Elizabeth Henson. Instagram at elizabeth.henson. That is my main jam where I'm going to show up, where I'm really going to, focus on leadership and community building. And gosh, having Sharon helping me behind the scenes, you guys. We put out 2 reels last week. Who am I? This is so exciting. And eventually hoping to have a full-on head of marketing for the photography business. But, anywhere I can get help so that I can continue to really show up in that best version of myself. So thank you for holding the space for me to brain dump with you. I did not expect to go on for almost 30 minutes talking this out, but I'm really excited. And like I said, this is a slow dream. This is a long-term dream so that I can really get out of this solopreneur mode and have an actual business that can live and breathe without me when that day comes, so that I have that thing, that either investment opportunity, revenue generating thing to pass on to my family and to leave behind. Because that's important to me, right? I don't want all of this work, blood, sweat, and tears and impact to just go away, right? And I think about the companies that I really admire and, they're all bigger than just one person. So very exciting. Thank you guys so much for listening. I should be, kind of back in action with the podcast. I've got an exciting interview set up for tomorrow night, and I'll be heading to Miami next week. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm always just so full of gratitude, and I'm just honored to share my journey with you guys. The good, the bad, the ugly, the learning opportunities. I love it all. So thank you for being here, and I will see you guys soon.